ISKCON DVD founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Krishnotara Sar Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Srila Gaura Kishordas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Srila Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki Jai. Jai Vishnupada Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Sada Goswami Prabhu ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopika Shama Kumrada Kumbhir Yodhan ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Mayapur Dham ki Jai. Shri Gangamayi Yamunamayi ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki Jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. ISKCON Vartamana Guru Vrinda ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to Samaveta. All glories to Samaveta. All glories to Samaveta. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Paranda. All glories to Shri Radha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 नहीं हुआ मुझे 35 बोलना था
34 35
दोनों
So, छोटा
हाँ 35 में भी छोटा okay. So today we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Today we are covering 34 and 35. Actually 80 verses, but then they didn't cover 34, so we are covering two verses. Okay. droṇaṁ ca bhīṣmaṁ ca jayadratha ca
bhīṣmaṁ jayadratham
karṇam tathānyān yodha-vīrān hatāṁ jahi vyathiṣṭhā yudhyasva jetāsi raṇe spantam sapatnān droṇaṁ ca bhīṣmaṁ ca jayadratha ca
jayadrathaṁ karṇam tathānyān yodha-vīrān mayā hatāṁs tvam jahi vyathiṣṭhā yudhyasva jetāsi raṇe sapatnān.
So 35 and then word to word correct? droṇaṁ ca also drone. bhīṣmaṁ ca also bhīṣmam. Jayadrathaṁ ca also jayadratha. karṇam tathā also. anyān others. api certainly. yodha-vīrān great warriors. mayā by me. hatān already killed. tvam you. jahi destroyed. do not. vyathiṣṭhā be disturbed. yudhyasva just fine. jetāsi you will conquer. raṇe in the fight. sapatnān enemies. Translation: Droṇa, Bhīṣma, Jayadratha, Karṇa and other great warriors have been already destroyed by me. Therefore kill them and do not be disturbed. Simply fight and you will vanquish your enemies in the battle. Purport: every plan is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but He is so kind and merciful to His devotees that He wants to give the credit to His devotees who carry out His plan according to His desire. Life should therefore move in such a way that everyone acts in Krishna consciousness understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of spiritual master. The plans of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are understood by His mercy, and the plans of the devotees are as good as His plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. 35. Sanjaya Vacha Etat Shrutva Vacham Keshavasya Kritanjale Vepamana Kirti Namaskritva Bhuyi Eva Krishnam Sakatkatam Bhīta Bhītaha Pranam Sanjaya Vacha Eka Shrutva Vacham Keshavasya Kritanjali Vepamana Kirti Namaskritva Bhuya Evaha Krishnam Sakatkatam Bhīta Bhītaha Pranamya
Sanjaya Vacha Etat Shrutva Vachanam Kesavasya Kritanjali Vepamana Kirti Namaskritva Bhuya Evaha Krishnam Sakatkatam Bhīta Bhīta Pranamya
Sanjaya Vacha Etat Shrutva Vachanam Kesavasya Kritanjali Vepamana Kirti Namaskritva Bhuya Eva Krishnam Sakatkatam Bhīta Bhīta Pranamya.
Word to word translation. Sanjaya Vacha Sanjaya said Etat thus Shrutva hearing Vachanam the speech Keshavasya of Krishna Kritanjalihi with folded hands Vepamanaha trembling Kirti Arjuna Namaskritva offering obeisances Bhuyaha again Eva also Aha said Krishnam unto Krishna Sagadgadam with a flattering voice Bhīta Bhītaha fearful Pranamyam offering obeisances. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Easy Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, O King, after hearing these words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the trembling Arjuna offered obeisances with folded hands again and again. He fearfully spoke to Lord Krishna in a flattering voice as follows. Purport. As we have already explained, because of this situation created by the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna became bewildered in wonder, and thus he began to offer his respectful obeisances to Krishna again and again. And with flattering voice, he began to pray not as a friend but as a devotee in wonder. Om Ajnanatimranasya Jnananjana Shavakaya Chakshurunvelitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Vadamahyam Darati Swapadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarupa Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Vanchakalpatarvyasya Vipasindhubhyo Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo. Welcome everyone for today's reading of 34 and 35 slokas of the 11th chapter. This chapter is titled as Universal Form. So 34, Prabhupada is writing that Krishna is telling that the great warriors, Droṇa, Bhīṣma, Jayadratha, Karṇa and many other great warriors, they are already being killed, they are being defeated. Now you simply fight and you take the credit. And now Prabhupada explains that the plans are already being made by Krishna. But who can understand Krishna's plan? One who is already aligned with Krishna. That means one who is a devotee, they can understand Krishna's plan. So, and Prabhupada is also making that, if we are not in that position to understand what is Krishna's plan, then we have to follow our spiritual master. And a pure devotee's plans and the Lord's plan, they are not different, they are the same. Now here in 35, now Sanjay is speaking through Dhritarashtra, saying that after hearing the Krishna speaking, Arjuna was trembling, seeing the universal form, and then he is again and again paying obeisances, folding his hands, and then his voice is choked up in flattering voice. He is going to offer some prayers, which we will be seeing from tomorrow, 26 onwards. Now here two things. One, Arjuna has seen the universal form. He has darshan of the universal form. And there is a change in his heart, right? He is a Kshatriya. Usually Kshatriyas are not very fearful they are fearless. They are not very fearful. But here we see the symptoms of Arjuna, that he is in fear. Out of fear he is exhibiting some symptoms. But he is offering obeisances and he is surrendering to Krishna, and he is going to express his feelings and emotions and his realizations in the coming prayers. Whereas Dhritarashtra, on the other hand, he was also heard the entire description, right, of the universal form with the help of Sanjay. But what happened? Still he is very blinded. There is no change of heart. Long time ago I heard one example by His Grace Sarvabhauma Prabhu. One man, he was selling 4 dolls. And one is 25 rupees, one is 50 rupees, one is 100 rupees, and one is 200 rupees. And all the 4 dolls are identical. There is no difference. So the customer asked, why is this 25 rupees and why is this 50? Why is this 100 and why is the other one 200? He says, he takes the first doll and he puts the pin. Then the pin doesn't go through the ear. Okay? And then he takes the second one and he pushes the pin. The pin goes from this ear and goes up to this ear and it comes out. And he takes the third doll and he says, the pin goes from this ear to this ear and it comes out of the tongue. But the fourth doll, which is very expensive, the pin goes from one ear to the other ear and then goes to the heart and then comes out. So what does it mean? It means some people hear, but it really doesn't penetrate anything. Some people hear, it penetrates from one ear to another ear. Now some people hear, it penetrates both the ears and they just speak. But some people, they hear, it goes into the heart, there is a change of heart, and then it comes out. So knowledge should, we have to come to that point of knowledge where there will be a change of heart. So this is what exactly Arjuna was going through. Now, universe is actually, when we see the universal form, different devotees have different experiences. We'll take from the Shastra itself. Now, Arjuna has seen the universal form, and then he is going through these emotions. And then he is even forgetting Krishna is his friend, right? He is actually going through fear, he was trembling, his voice is choking up. And now in the prayers you will see that, I have committed mistake. Every time I call you Yadava, very casually, but I didn't realize that you are God and you are present in this cosmos and you are actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although he knows, but out of this ecstasy, he forgets. And Nectar of Devotion describes that this symptoms is actually called dependence on the Lord. It is inferior dependence on the Lord, where actually the devotee forgets himself, that he has a relationship with Krishna. So this is inferior dependence. And then we see from the Srimad Bhagavatam the example of Mother Yashoda. One day it happened that the friends and Balaram, they come and lodge a complaint to Mother Yashoda, saying that today Krishna has ate some dirt. Then Mother Yashoda gets worried. Obviously, any child eating dirt, she gets worried. She comes and chastises Krishna. Why did you eat dirt? Are there not sufficient milk and milk products in house? So, and then Krishna says, no, actually my friends are liars. They are lying. I didn't eat dirt. Okay, I will see for myself. You open the mouth. Now, Krishna has all opulences in him. At times it's manifested and at times it's not manifested. So as soon as he opens the mouth, Mother Yashoda can see the entire universal form, where there is pradhan, there is mahatattva, there is the senses, the jivas, the different planetary systems, and how even she could see the Vrindavan, and in Vrindavan she can see herself and Krishna also. So she gets bewildered. And she's thinking, okay, am I dreaming? No, but I'm awake, so I'm not dreaming. Then she says that maybe the demigods have, they mesmerized me. But then she thinks that I am an insignificant woman. Why would demigods have anything to do with me? Then she thinks that, okay, maybe it's because I have some disease. But no, I'm very healthy, so I don't have any disease. Then she thinks that, oh, this is because of Krishna. See, Gargamuni have predicted that Krishna is not an ordinary boy. So maybe because of that. And then she also goes, for a moment, she goes into awe and reverence and she starts to pray. I'm actually thinking he is mine and it is, Nanda Maharaj is my husband, Krishna is my son. And actually he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is actually the maintainer, he is the creator. And then in this awe and reverence, he is forgetting to care for Krishna as a loving mother. Then Krishna says, no, I don't want this kind of relationship. I want a chastising mother, loving and chastising mother. Then Yogamaya covers Yashodamaya. Then again, Yashodamaya thinks that, okay, something happened, I don't know what happened, but this is my son. And she starts to care for him. So this is one devotee. Now, in the Bhagavatam, in the second canto, when Narada Muni goes to Brahmaji, and then he says that, I have some questions to ask. I'm observing the cosmos. Now I have questions to ask. And he asks 6 questions to Brahmaji. He says, what are the characteristics of this universe? Then what is the shelter of this universe? How is it created and how is it conserved? That means that what happens when it merges into destruction? And what is the source that it depends upon? And then what are the ingredients composed of? And Narada Muni says that, Brahmaji, you are actually the creator. So you please reveal, what is this? Can you explain? Then we will see in the chapter 5 and chapter 6 of the second canto, where the cause of all causes and the Purusha Sukta prayers are there. Brahma first opens and says that, I am not actually the original creator. I am a subordinate. I am just assisting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. I am here only to recreate. The blueprint is already there. I am not doing anything. Actually, the main creator is Krishna himself. And then he starts to describe how the entire universal construction happens. Then he says that first, Karṇodakṣaya, he glances on the matter, which is nothing but the pradhan, which is undivided. And then with the glance of the Lord, the kala effect is there, right? And with the help of the kala, it gets differentiated and then it becomes the mahatattva. And from mahatattva, the different gunas come into action, and then the devi-devatas, the senses, the prana, the intelligence, and 5 mantras and 5 elements, they all come into existence. Now then Brahmaji explains that how all the planetary systems are arranged in the Virata Purusha. So this is very fascinating. And then he says that even I cannot completely understand Krishna. Even Krishna himself don't know to what extent his glories are going on. But the only way that one can understand is by full surrender. By understanding, by surrendering to Krishna, we can actually understand. Then Brahmaji gives, then he explains how this entire universal cosmic manifestation is only ekapath. This is only one ekapath. Ekapath means one portion. Tripath is the spiritual. Now, when Karṇodaksha Vishnu is sleeping on the causal ocean, there's so many universes. They're coming out like the pores. And then all these bubbles are actually individual universes and they're floating on the causal ocean. And Brahmaji is telling that this is all ekapath. This all material manifestation is only one part. But the 3/4 part is the spiritual world. And what happens in this ekapath, all the jivas, they want to lord it over the material nature. This is the tendency. But in the tripath, in the spiritual world, everyone has a complete understanding, complete knowledge. Who are they and what is their relationship with Krishna and the medium to engage in loving devotional service. So, and ekapath is actually maintained by his energies. This material manifestation is actually maintained by his energies. Whereas spiritual world is not different from him. Although he is there, and also one other aspect of the material manifestation where there is birth, death, old age and disease, there is misery here. But in the spiritual world there is always no birth and death, and there is always Satchidananda. Everywhere you find eternity, bliss and knowledge. So, coming to then when we are studying these Virata Purusha, about the universal form, how should it help us? Okay, Brahmaji has a realization, Arjuna is going to have a realization, and Mother Yashoda had her own realizations. Then Srila Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam that Virata Purusha, studying Virata Purusha, is actually the first step in God realization. Although this is imaginary, but it helps people to understand that there is someone behind this cosmos, right? There is an acceptance of God's hand behind the cosmos. So by that, people actually start to step onto this path of spiritual realization. Whereas for the sadhakas, this is not our first step, right? We have moved a little bit further in bhakti. So what should this universal form should help us to do? It is actually, we are able to see that how Lord is behind the creation and how every jiva is can have a relationship with him and how he can cross this material ocean. So the sadhana bhakti also has 3 aspects. The aspects of sambandha jnana, abhideya and prayojana. Sambandha is where we can establish the relationship with the Lord, right? And abhideya is the process. Whereas prayojana, which is the ultimate necessity that, to engage in loving devotional service with Krishna. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that this is the ultimate necessity. What is the ultimate necessity? Premo pumato maha. Achieving pure love of devotional service to the Lord. So when we study universal form, then we see that, we actually need to appreciate that how Krishna, in the form of time, he is actually manifesting everything, right? And he is moving, there are actions, there are plans, how 34 purport. Prabhupada is writing that there is every plan that is made by Krishna. and we have to learn to accept his plans. And also we learn that we have to do a paradigm shift in our consciousness from I am in control to Krishna in control. That is what this universal form chapter is teaching us. We are thinking that I am in control of everything. But then when we study universal form, then we see that every aspect how is under control of Krishna. So Krishna is under the control, not me. So an example is, say for example, we have success. Usually people take credit for themselves. When they take credit, what happens? They become pride, right? But when devotees become successful, they give the credit to the teachers, to the parampara, to Krishna himself. Then they become humble, right? When I am in control, I become proud. But when Krishna is in control of the same action, of the same success, we become humble. When there is a test, usually when I am in control, I try to blame others. I become angry with others, right? But when there is a test in devotee's life, they take responsibility. Okay, there is something that I have to improve. And they see there is Krishna's mercy in it. So there should be a paradigm shift from I am in control to Krishna in control. And that is what this chapter is specially teaching. And we see example of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is empowered devotee, right? Satyavesh Avatar. So obviously we expect that when he is empowered, there are no obstacles. He is exactly going with the plans of the Lord. And he is taking Krishna in the control, like Krishna is in control. He understands. He is acting. But still we see that there are so many obstacles on Srila Prabhupada's path. So one understanding here is just becoming empowered doesn't mean that we don't have obstacles. Being empowered means whatever the obstacles come, we will be able to cross it. So here, like example of when we examine every aspect of Srila Prabhupada's life, everywhere there was obstacles, right? In his family life there were obstacles, in his business there were obstacles, in his when Prabhupada came to Vanaprastha there were obstacles, and when Prabhupada wanted to print Back to Godhead magazine, he wanted to print Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, there were obstacles. But Prabhupada never gave up, right? He took his spiritual master's plan and he wanted to execute that. Even when Prabhupada was going to America on the Jayadratha, he had the encounter with heart attack, and that's a big thing. But still Prabhupada didn't give up. And when Prabhupada landed in Boston Harbor, he composed a beautiful prayer, and when in prayer Prabhupada is saying that I don't have any devotion, I am not qualified, and I don't know why you brought me here, and people are so much engrossed in passion and ignorance. I don't even know if they will be able to understand what I'm going to teach. But if few words, you please make me, true to my name, that is Bhakti Vedanta. And I'm just a puppet in your hands. Again, there is a dependence on the Lord. He is empowered, but he is depending on the Lord, where Krishna is in control. And again, when we see the later pastimes also, Prabhupada after establishing the society, also when there is Juhu temple problems and Vrindavan temple problems, Prabhupada never gave up. Again, he was always on the focus that he wanted to establish Krishna consciousness, whether it's in West or in India. And in the final pastime, when Prabhupada is ready to leave the material world, everyone were telling Prabhupada, we want you to stay. Prabhupada gave his disciples one prayer. You please pray, O Lord Krishna, if you desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada. This is the prayer that Prabhupada gave it to the disciples, asking them to pray for him. So again, here the prerogative is Krishna, Krishna's hand. Whatever Krishna desires, let that be my desire. Let that be happening. Now, this is very inconceivable for us to understand, at least for me, that Prabhupada is so qualified, he has all devotion, and he is praying that I don't have any devotion and I am unqualified. Usually, if you're qualified means you're qualified, you're unqualified means you're unqualified. But you're qualified, but you're thinking I'm most unqualified. This is very difficult aspect to understand for me. This quality is called dainya. This is utter humility. In Brihad Bhagavatamritam, Narada Muni is explaining that how this quality of dainya, utter humility, is actually going to attract the jiva from to Krishna. It is actually this quality itself is going to pull towards Krishna. There is no other quality. And then this cannot be artificially imitated, and this cannot be, imposed, that it will be manifested. But how it can be coming? It comes only by the mercy of the Lord. It is 100% mercy of the Lord that it generates this dainya quality in the pure devotees. And they stand as an example that how they are exhibiting these qualities and having Krishna in control in 100%, not I am in control. So when we study these chapters, which are very technical and then which are very over the head, some things that we have to understand is the mood of the devotees. The mood of the devotees, what are they establishing? And how Krishna is empowering them to, asking them to become the part of his plan. Right? When we become the part of his plan, it's not that we are going to not encounter with any kind of obstacles, but we will get all the intelligence to cross over it. This is where the success is. And as a beginner devotee, we are really afraid. I am really afraid that if there are any going to be impediments, how am I going to cross it? So the best is always stay in the association of devotees. Whatever happens, stay in the association of devotees. And devotees will only purify us. No one else will purify us. Prabhupada writes in Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto that if you think you can progress outside the association of devotee, this is purely hallucination. We cannot progress outside the devotee community. This is complete hallucination. Why? Because we wouldn't know whether we are really progressing or not. So we follow the program, we study the Shastra, we take association of the devotees. Taking association of devotees means getting inspiration from these devotees, and then move on that path of this sadhana and appreciate it. Just as Arjuna is afraid of this Virata Rupa, because why is he afraid? He has seen this manifestation of this time and how time can be so cruel. It can be devouring people's life in the due course of time, right? And it's very frustrating. It's very frightening, not frustrating, but it's very frightening actually. So that's why he was afraid. But then he understands, okay, Krishna is behind it. This kala doesn't work independently. It is as subtle. Actually, time is very, very subtle. But again, this is just one of the energies of Krishna. Then how powerful is Krishna himself? Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Mayā dakshena, Yeah, Maya Lakshena Prakriti Sadurachara. Yes. So how this whole manifestation is actually moving under him, right? Working under him and moving under him. So again, when we study these chapters, so we need to come to appreciating Krishna's hand, even in the most insignificant parts of this material universe. It's just one part of his whole entire creation, but how much he is involved in it, and how much he wanted us to go back home, back to Godhead. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us most easy way to connect, because I won't be able to always watch out for the time how it's cutting me. But for me it will be easy when I'm engaged easily in devotional service. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, he is teaching us, Gopi Parta Kamalayo, Dasa Dasa Das. Just become the servant of the servant of the servant. And how we can become the servant of the servant? Just by serving, Srila Prabhupada and his mission, and the Guru Parampara. And, following their plan. What is their plan? Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And also teaching others how to chant this Hare Krishna Mahamantra and the process. By doing so, we will also be part of Krishna's plan, and also we make a significant mark in the insignificant existence of this material world. So those are some of my thoughts and understanding. So yeah, one thing I really was thinking is that how important it is to make this paradigm shift from I am in charge, I am in control, to Krishna in control. So that can be come only by regulated sadhana and being in association of devotees. No other way. Yeah. If there are any questions or comments or corrections. Any questions, comments? Anything? So thank you. It's a valid class to finish. Forgive me for any of my shortcomings. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
कोई भी साथ मिला तो